Thank you very much. We all deserve the right to information about ourselves without government intrusion, even those of us who are adoptees. Thank you.
Thank you. Before questions, you must be Amanda.
I'm Amanda.
Okay, go ahead. Introduce yourself, please. And
Good morning. My name is Amanda Transu-Woolston. I am an author, public speaker, and social worker. I have a bachelor's degree in social work, and I'm about to graduate with my master's in social work.
Congrats.
I have edited and contributed to numerous books on adoption and other publications, and I have an internationally recognized adoption blog. I was adopted as an infant through the largest adoption agency in the United States, and I also spent some time in foster care before being placed with my parents. I am also a person who is conceived from rape. My first book focuses on empowering adoptees and destigmatizing being adoption for every adoptee. When I first saw my my amended birth certificate, I was about 10 years old, and I didn't realize what an amended versus an original certificate was. So I thought it was a birth certificate like everybody else had. And I let my eyes fall across that paper because I had never seen my birth mother's name before, and I saw my adoptive parents' names. And I was shocked because I was never confused about my family's composition through adoption, but I didn't understand why my birth date would hide my birth from me in this way. I had looked at my birth record expecting honesty. I had expected to see a historical record of the day that I entered this world. My birth date reformed its law a few years after this story took place, and it allowed me to gain access to my original birth certificate, and I consider it one of my greatest treasures. As a social worker, it's very important to me that policies that are made aren't about my story. They need to be based on research, and they need to be based on the positive qualities of the adoption community, not the fear, not deficits, and not stereotypes. Among other available research that we have two very thorough national policy evaluation from the Evan B. Donaldson Adoption Institute that show us that there's little evidence that original birth certificates being sealed substantiate promises of anonymity to birth parents. Furthermore, as Carolyn said, the work by Elizabeth Samuels, who from the University of Baltimore, recently concluded that there is no promise of anonymity found on the legal documents that birth parents sign. We know from data in states that have legislation similar to HB 162 that there is no statistically significant relationship between original birth certificate access and abortion rates. We know from research conducted by renowned law expert E. Wayne Karp, both nationally and internationally, that there are no known negative repercussions to legislation such as HB 162. In fact, the feedback that we get from the adoption community abroad is that they're really confused as to why the United States is so behind on this issue. And this is a critique prevalent in the popular writing of Finnish adoptee and sociologist Dr. Katrina Weger. During Pennsylvania's own 60-plus history of allowing adult adoptees to have access to their original birth certificates upon request, there were no reported issues that I'm aware of. In the 1984 House floor discussions of the bill that first restricted original birth certificate access, one representative was quoted as saying that the bill risked taking Pennsylvania back into the dark ages. That bill became what we know now as the Adoption Act. Subsequent policies, such as Act 101, are built upon this model. When discussing birth record access, as Mary suggested, we need to include an accurate picture of what the adoption community entails. More than half of adult adoptees are step-parent adoptees, and they were raised by their biological parents. The next largest portion are foster care adoptees, and they are likely in the state of Pennsylvania to be adopted by biological relatives or by foster families who may already likely know the information and the pre-adoption history. Our original birth certificates are not sealed at birth or even at the termination of parental rights. They are sealed upon adoption, which could be months or years after we are born. We cannot frame this issue around the conjecture associated with private domestic infant adoption because it is not accurate and it is not representative of what adoption is as a whole. Lastly, as I said at the beginning of my testimony, I was conceived from rape, and I want to make it clear that I am not ashamed of myself. I am many things. I'm a woman, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, but I am not what my biological father did. My birth is no more worthy of being hidden from me than the birth of any other person, as though I or my birth mother have something to be ashamed of. I am not ashamed of us. I will not sit here and speak for my birth mother because I do not think that any group or person should speak on behalf of birth mothers, but birth mothers. But I can surmise from the fact that I have been embraced by over 12 aunts and uncles, 26 first cousins, brothers, and my birth mother, that my birth family is not ashamed of me. I know that my story is not every person's story, but what I know to be true for every single adult adoptee is that we are entitled to dignity, respect, and the same access to a record that the government makes available to every other person who is not adopted, regardless of that family's drama, turmoil, emotional pain. I believe that every birth parent is valuable as any other parent, and that the births of their children are no more shameful or worthy of being hidden than the birth of any other child. HB 162 sends a positive message about being adopted. Today, we have a chance to be leaders in best practice on this issue. It's time for Pennsylvania to step out of the dark ages and to lead. I urge your support for HB 162. Thank you.